What's up, kids? Smell and taste are two of the closest senses tied to memory. And I really want you to remember this because this is a little bit complicated. There's going to be a lot of content going on in your little brownie bake right here, and I want you to remember it. So we're going to make a delicious brownie dish, and it's going to help you remember some of the air pollution issues we cover in this unit. So in this particular dish, we've got a thermal inversion brownie. So let me explain what a thermal inversion is. So sort of the classic example of thermal inversions is the city of LA, Los Angeles. And what happens there is that, rush hour traffic is going on. There's a huge amount of air pollution rising up out of this major metropolitan area, which, again, a metro area, a major metropolitan area is a city, a big city. So we've got all this air pollution rising up. It's mixing all together. There's secondary reactions happening. And what could happen is all of that continues to rise high into the atmosphere and then blow away from the city. But in a thermal inversion, that's not what's happening. There's a layer of warm air that stops all that pollution from going up and out, and it traps it over the city. And it just sits right on top of the city and starts to cause a lot of respiratory problems and shortened lifespans and all sorts of other things that come from these air pollution, chronic air pollution issues like in the city of LA. So let me explain what that has to do with this brownie. So first of all, you're going to start with a tray of brownies, okay? That says brownie mix, and this is going to be my brownie mix is going to represent the air above LA or any major metropolitan area where thermal inversions can happen. Then we're going to add some pollution to it. Now you're going to add these things while this mix is wet, okay? Or moist, for those of you that hate that word, there you go. Now, our chocolate chips that we're going to sprinkle over like the salt guy from the memes, we're going to sprinkle over some chocolate chips, and those are going to represent ground level ozone. Ground level ozone comes from the transportation sector, comes from cars. We have ozone alert days here in Dallas, the Carrollton Farmers Branch. When you're sitting out in the summer heat, and there's a huge amount of vehicle traffic in this city, and it feels like you can't breathe. Well, you can't because you're breathing in ozone. Your lungs won't use ozone. Okay, so this is ground level ozone from the transportation sector. Then we're going to sprinkle in some walnuts. The walnuts in this case are going to be NOxes, which is generally, the X is a variable, just like in algebra, but typically what we're talking about is nitrogen dioxide, NO2, and that's created by internal combustion engines in the transportation sector as well. Now remember, we're talking about ICEs, internal combustion engines, not electric cars, hydrogen cars, something like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what we all typically drive, internal combustion engines. Now, we've got our air pollution, right? We've got our air, which is the brownie. We've got our ground level ozone, and we've got our NOxes. That's our pollution sprinkled over the top, and it's going to represent the rising air pollution, since it's going to be right at the top. Now we need our thermal inversion layer. So kind of a classic flavor combination is chocolate and orange. And so we're going to make an orange cream. We're going to take some Cool Whip, and you can do fresh squeezed orange with some orange zest if you're one of those people that watches Great British Baking Show all the time, like I do. Anyway, or you can use orange juice, orange flavoring, whatever. You could even just use orange food coloring if you want to. But what that's going to represent is our warm air layer over the top of the city that prevents the pollution from going up and out of the city. It traps it right over the people. So that's going to be, it's a warm air layer. It's not called the inversion layer. This process is called a thermal inversion because it's holding it into the city. So what you're going to end up with, and you can make this, make the brownies, let them cool, and then put the topping on all of it, or you can cut you out a slice of brownie and put your orange cream on top of it. However you want to do it. I want you to enjoy this. I want you to enjoy this with your family, but I also want you to remember this unit as well. Now, this is sort of an exterior or lesson external to these primary air pollution sources. You need to know that ground level ozone and NOxes are part of the formation of photochemical smog, or PANs. And this is there's a lot that goes into this. VOCs is also a part of it. VOCs in rush hour traffic, the most common VOC in rush hour traffic is going to be unburned gasoline from very inefficient motors. But anyway, you take VOCs like unburned gasoline, NOxes from the car exhaust, ground level ozone from the car exhaust and then you expose it to sunlight, then you're going to get photochemical smog and PANTs, paraxyl nitrates. And we can look those up. We'll talk about those on a separate lesson, but our brownie cake is where it starts. Our brownie mix is where it starts. And then those chemicals go through chemical reactions in the atmosphere and in the presence of sunlight and then cause new problems. Those are called secondary air pollution problems.